everybody! Today I want to talk about the basic strokes that make up hand lettering letters. So, unlike cursive, hand lettering is not just one continuous long string of ink. You actually pick up your pen along the way, because it's drawing letters, remember? Pick up our pen along the way, and we're using the same strokes or curves or shapes every step of the way, over and over and over and over again. So I'm going to take you through what those are, and then I've linked a drill sheet at the end as well, like a free practice guide, so that you can practice these basic strokes. And if you can get these down, these will help you form your letters, which will then help you string them together and form words. So get your tools ready, whether you have a pen or a paintbrush or a pencil, whatever you're using for hand lettering, get that ready and I'll show you how to do it. So first of all, this is my Rhodia pad of paper. It's a really good investment if you're going to be doing lots of lettering. I think it comes with about 80 sheets of high quality paper. And you can really use any tool, but today I'm going to be using my Tombow Fudenosuke pen. I really like this one. I also have a Tombow dual tip brush pen. And the pencil that I like to use is Faber-Castell HB. It erases really nicely. So let's get started with the basic strokes of hand lettering. So basic strokes are the movements that you use over and over and over again. So we use upstrokes all the time. The first one that we're going to start with today is especially when you're moving into a new letter, your transitional movement. So here in the letter T, I have a simple upstroke before a thicker downstroke, and that's what makes up the letter T. So it's really important to practice those upstrokes because you'll use them all the time. So now for the downstrokes, you want to just use a heavier pressure to really make those stand out from the upstrokes, and the contrast between the light and thick strokes is what's going to give you beautiful hand lettering. Next we have an overturn, which is basically a fancy way of saying an upstroke transitioned into a downstroke. So something that's really tricky in the beginning is learning how to change the pressure of your stroke mid-movement. So right here, I start my heavier pressure too soon. And then right here, I have the upstroke and then the downstroke, and I sort of just give up before I finish my stroke. And it turned out like that. So you have to make sure you follow through with the pressure. So don't do it how I just did it. Again, this just takes practice and muscle memory as your hand figures out what it's doing. I created a free practice guide with the basic strokes, so you can print off as many of those as you need to and practice all day long until you feel confident in your basic strokes. So next we have the underturn, which is, you guessed it, the exact opposite of the overturn. So you're going to start off with a downstroke and transition into an upstroke. The same principles apply here, so make sure that you are holding consistent pressure, not like this one, all the way through the end of your stroke. Otherwise, it will end up looking funny. Now, just a side note, I am not using graph paper right here, but Rhodia also makes graph paper, or you can get a ruler or the edge of a book and create guidelines so that your practice is straight. I've added the letters M and V so that you can see the overturn and underturn in action. Our next basic stroke is a combination of the overturn plus the underturn, which brings us to the compound curve, one of the trickier basic strokes. Sometimes starting out with a brush pen can be confusing or tricky, so I would recommend that you just start off by using a pencil and do your upstrokes with really light pressure pencil, and then your downstrokes are obviously going to be a heavier pressure, and that'll just help you get used to the movement before you bring in a more complicated writing tool. So we see an overturn, an underturn, and a compound curve in the letter W. So our next movement is the basic oval. So this one is also really tricky because You have a thick downstroke transitioning into a thin upstroke. What's easy to happen is to start really thick like this, and then your upstroke has nowhere to connect. So don't do that. So what I like to do is sort of give it a connecting point. Start with a thinner upstroke, transition into a downstroke, and then bring your upstroke back up to connect it at the top. I know that sounds confusing, but it's going to look a whole lot better if you can get that movement down rather than starting with a heavy downstroke right off the bat. And one of the many letters that demonstrates this stroke for us is the letter A, the letter C, the letter D, and on and on. Some other letters that use part of this stroke of the oval is E, G. I bet you could come up with a few of your own as well. So our next basic stroke is particularly fun. This one happens to be my favorite, and it's called the ascending loop. Now to make the ascending loop curve, you're going to start with a thin, really light pressure upstroke, transition into a thick downstroke, and bring it past the meeting point of the upstroke and the downstroke. Looks like this. So this one example, is in the letter H. So you'll see here actually there's an upstroke as well as an overturn. And you can have fun with this. You don't have to make all of your letters connect exactly like I do. And here we have the letter B as well. Next up, we have its counterpart, the descending loop. So this basic stroke you'll see in any letter that has a tail. So a G has a tail, a lowercase g, or a J, and again, you can just have fun with it. I just added, right here we call that an entrance stroke. It's just a curved little upstroke, and it kind of leads into the letter. And now I'll write a G so you can see here's an oval mixed with a descending loop. And this descending loop is pretty much exactly the way I showed you to do it. And now I'm going to write my G another way with a descending loop that has a little flare. And remember, there's really no rules, so you can have fun with this and make it your own. So I hope this was helpful for showing you all of the basic strokes of hand lettering, the simple strokes and movements that we use over and over again to build our letters and then build our words and become hand letterers. So don't forget to grab the free guide that I've created. That will help build muscle memory if you can do those movements over and over again. And tag me in your progress so that I can cheer you on in your work. See you next time.